Have you ever told yourself, it's not worth it, I'll just let it go? You stay quiet, you bite your tongue, you convince yourself that keeping the peace is the mature thing to do, that walking away makes you noble, that silence somehow makes you stronger. But every time you do that, every time you silence yourself when you should speak, you betray yourself. And that betrayal doesn't disappear. It piles up, it festers, and eventually, it consumes you. We live in a culture obsessed with artificial harmony. From a young age, we're told that avoiding conflict means we've grown up, that maturity is keeping quiet, that being good means swallowing pain just to avoid rocking the boat. But that's not maturity. That's fear in disguise. Nietzsche saw right through it. He called out the lie for what it is. This idea that silence equals virtue, that peace is always better than confrontation, it's cowardice dressed as virtue. It's not strength, it's submission. And this submission has a name: slave morality. It's a morality created not by the strong, but by the weak, by those who couldn't fight back, who couldn't impose their will, so they rewrote the rules. They painted strength as evil. They painted obedience, humility, and retreat as good. And now you, generations later, live by those same twisted rules. Think about it. How many times have you stayed quiet just to keep the peace? How many times have you swallowed disrespect, brushed off humiliation, tolerated unfairness, all to avoid being called difficult? This isn't about picking fights with everyone. It's about reclaiming the right to exist with dignity. Because here's the truth. If you don't learn how to handle conflict, it will destroy you from the inside. And I mean that literally. That unspoken truth you buried, that one more time you said nothing, that's where resentment begins. And resentment is not just an emotion, it's poison. And that poison spreads. Nietzsche called it out again in On the Genealogy of Morals. He showed us how resentment is born. It starts with suppressed action. A moment where you wanted to act, but didn't. A moment where you should have spoken, but stayed silent. That energy doesn't vanish. It turns inward, and it rots. You start telling yourself you're better because you don't react. You say you're above the argument, that you're too wise to respond. But deep down, you know it's a lie. Behind that fake sense of superiority is unprocessed frustration, bottled up anger, and fear. And it's killing you. Every time someone crosses a boundary and you let it slide, that's resentment. Every time you stay silent and then replay the moment over and over in your head, thinking of what you should have said, that's resentment. Every time you pretend you're fine while your stomach tightens with bitterness, that's resentment. You're not just a victim, you're an accomplice in your own silence. And the more you let it slide, the more trapped you become. Because resentment grows. And as it grows, it steals your ability to act. You feel less and less courageous, and more bitter. Until one day, you're numb, or worse, you explode. But there is a way out. Nietzsche didn't just diagnose the sickness, he offered a cure. He introduced the idea of the will to power, and we'll get into that next, because in the next part, we'll explore how to tap back into your power, your raw, unapologetic, creative force. The part of you that doesn't shrink back, that doesn't say, maybe next time. The part of you that stands tall, says no, and means it. It's time to reclaim what was always yours. So now you understand the price of swallowing your truth, the buildup of resentment, the slow erosion of your identity. But what's the cure? Nietzsche gave us an answer. And it starts with reclaiming the will to power. Now don't confuse that with domination. It's not about controlling others. It's not about ego. It's deeper than that. The will to power is life itself trying to express itself through you. It's your instinct to grow, to create, to set boundaries, to claim space. It's your ability to say, I exist and I matter. But here's what happens. You were raised in a system designed to kill that instinct. You were told, don't be too much, don't be too loud, don't stand out, don't confront. They told you that peace is always better than power, that harmony is more important than truth, that being liked is more important than being respected. So you suppressed your will to power. And what happened? That power turned against you. It twisted into resentment, into bitterness, into self-hate, into submission disguised as goodness. That's what slave morality does. It makes you believe your weakness is a virtue. It celebrates your silence while robbing your soul, but you don't have to stay there. Reclaiming your will to power doesn't mean becoming violent. It means becoming honest. Honest about what you feel, what you want, what you'll tolerate, and what you won't. It means saying no and not feeling guilty. It means setting boundaries, even when it makes people uncomfortable. It means stopping the endless cycle of pleasing others while dying inside. And Nietzsche gave us a powerful metaphor to understand this transformation. One of the most beautiful and brutal symbols in all of philosophy, the three metamorphoses of the spirit. First, there's the camel. The camel is the spirit of burden. It carries everything: expectations, rules, social norms, guilt, shame, obedience. It bends under the weight and calls it strength. The camel says yes to everything. It's proud of how much it can endure. It confuses suffering with morality. It mistakes self-sacrifice for goodness. But there comes a point, an inner breaking point, when the camel says, enough. It's tired of kneeling, tired of carrying weight that was never its own, tired of being praised for being invisible. That's when the camel transforms into the lion. The lion is the one who finally says no. No to the roles you were forced into. No to the morality that told you your voice didn't matter. No to the fear that told you silence is safer. The lion fights for space, internal space, emotional space. It doesn't roar just to roar. It roars to clear room for authenticity. But to gain that freedom, the lion has to fight one final enemy. Nietzsche called it the dragon of thou shalt, a beast made of every rule and expectation you've ever internalized. On each scale is a commandment: thou shalt obey, thou shalt not speak up, thou shalt not challenge. To kill this dragon, you must risk rejection. You must face judgment. You must unlearn the guilt you've been carrying since childhood. But once you do, once you stare down the dragon and roar anyway, something extraordinary happens. The lion becomes the child. And this child is not naive. This child is free. The child is the spirit reborn, no longer reacting, no longer defending, no longer carrying or fighting. Now it creates. It writes new rules. It defines what matters. It lives from within, not from fear, not from resentment, but from power. This is your evolution. From camel to lion, from lion to child, from silence to truth, from survival to creation. But you have to choose it. Nobody can carry you through it. And in the final part, we'll go deeper into this choice, because Nietzsche's most powerful idea is yet to come: becoming who you are. And that doesn't happen by staying quiet. It happens by walking straight into the fire of confrontation. If you're ready for the final truth, the one most people run from, then keep watching. Now that you've walked through the fire, through silence, through resentment, through resistance, it's time to face the final truth: becoming who you are. It sounds simple, almost poetic, but Nietzsche didn't mean it as a cliché. He meant it as a brutal challenge, because becoming who you are isn't about comfort, it's about confrontation. Have you ever really asked yourself, whose life am I living? Is it yours? Or is it a version shaped by what your parents expected, what your partner wanted, what society approved? How often have you chosen safety over truth? How many times have you swallowed what you really wanted, what you really believed, just to avoid rocking the boat? You weren't born afraid of conflict. That was taught, trained, repeated, conditioned. And each time you chose silence, something in you dimmed. Each time you said yes when your soul screamed no, you moved further from your own identity. Nietzsche saw this as the greatest tragedy. Most people die without ever meeting themselves. They wear masks, they play roles, they become what the world demands, but never what they truly are. Why? Because it's easier to be accepted than to be authentic. But there's a cost, and that cost is your life. Because without conflict, there's no discovery. Without tension, no transformation. Without confrontation, there is no clarity. Your real self is revealed in the fire, not in the quiet. And that's why facing conflict is not just a personality trait, it's a spiritual necessity. When you stand up and say, "That's not okay with me." When you speak your truth, even when your voice shakes. When you choose to lose approval rather than lose yourself, that's when you begin to become. There's no blueprint for who you're meant to be. There's no universal script to follow. Nietzsche didn't give us a map. He handed us the pen and said, "Write your own." And that's terrifying, because it means stepping away from the crowd. It means risking misunderstanding, losing applause, walking alone. But it also means reclaiming your integrity. It means standing with your spine straight and your soul intact. Every boundary you set is a line drawn in self-respect. Every confrontation you face is a mirror reflecting what matters to you. Every time you choose truth over peace, you carve out a deeper connection to yourself. But here's the harshest part, and the most liberating. Your silence isn't neutral. It's not kindness. It's not wisdom. It's not maturity. It's complicity. Every time you say nothing in the face of abuse, disrespect, manipulation, you are voting for it to continue. You are reinforcing the behavior. You're telling the world, this is okay with me. And people notice. Those who seek power, who play dirty, who feed off weakness, they know when you're scared to speak, and they'll use it. The silence you believe protects you, it actually marks you as prey. Every unspoken truth is an open door for lies. Every unspoken limit is an invitation to be walked over. But there's another way, and it's not loud, it's not violent, it's clear. It's standing in conflict, not to destroy, but to declare, I exist, and I matter. That's real courage, not the absence of fear, but action in spite of it. Nietzsche never promised peace. He promised freedom, and it comes at a cost. It costs you comfort. It costs you your fake harmony. It costs you the illusion that if you just behave, life will reward you. But in return, you gain your soul. You stop being the camel carrying everyone else's expectations. You become the lion who claims space. And finally, the child who creates a life that is truly, deeply, and unapologetically yours. So here's your moment. Look at your life, the silence, the fear, the pretending, and ask yourself, am I really being wise, or am I just being cowardly? Write it down. I choose to no longer remain silent. Say it, type it, comment it. Let it echo outside your head and into reality. That small act, just naming the shift, is the first spark of transformation. And don't stop here. This is the start of something bigger. The next video will take this even deeper, showing you how to live out this truth every single day. You've come this far. Don't go back to silence now. Subscribe, share this with someone who needs it, and step forward. Because the world doesn't need more people who keep the peace. It needs more people who speak their truth and live it.